Commander Sarah walked through the empty corridors of Station's industrial sector, her boots echoing against the metal floor. Something felt wrong. The lights were too dim and the usual hum of machinery was absent. Her security detail, 4 good soldiers, walked beside her with their rifles ready. They felt it too. The diplomatic meeting was supposed to happen here in the old maintenance bay. Ambassador had insisted on privacy for the peace talks, had thought it was strange, but command had ordered her to go. The fleet had been sitting outside the station for 3 days now, 50 warships blocking any reinforcements. If there was a chance for peace, they had to take it. The doors to the maintenance bay opened with a hiss. Inside, Ambassador waited with 6 warriors. They were massive creatures, each one standing nearly 8 feet tall. Their bodies were covered in thick, armored hide that could stop most small arms fire. Natural claws extended from their hands, each one sharp enough to tear through steel. They had evolved on a heavy-gravity world where only the strongest survived. Had studied their files. They had conquered 23 different species in the last century. They never negotiated. They demanded surrender and they always got it. Commander said, his voice like grinding rocks, "Thank you for coming." Ambassador stopped 10 feet away, her hand resting near her sidearm. "Shall we begin?" Smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Oh yes, we shall begin." He raised one clawed hand. The crack of gunfire split the air. Security detail dropped, one after another, shot by snipers hidden in the rafters. She dove for cover behind a cargo container, but when she looked back, her people were already dead. The blast doors slammed shut with a metallic boom that echoed through the bay. "Was alone." "Don't bother with your weapon," Commander said, walking toward her slowly. "This bay is sealed. My ships control the station. Your reinforcements are weeks away. You have nowhere to run." Stood up slowly, her hands away from her gun. She looked at the 7, then at the sealed doors, then back at the ambassador. Her mind was already working, cataloging everything in the room: maintenance equipment, power tools, chemical storage, ventilation shafts, load-bearing supports. "What do you want?" she asked. "The access codes to your defense grid, the surrender of this station, and you, Commander, as proof that humanity knows when it is beaten." Stopped a few feet away. "We have studied your species. You are weak. Your bones break easily. Your skin tears like paper. You have no natural weapons, no armor, no real strength. You hide behind your technology and your numbers, but when faced with a true warrior race, you are nothing." One of the warriors laughed, a harsh barking sound. "She's so small. How do they even fight wars?" Said nothing. She just watched them, her face calm. "The other species learned quickly," continued. "The surrendered when we killed their leaders. The gave up after one battle, the begged for mercy." He leaned closer. "What will humans do, I wonder?" "You really want to know?" asked quietly. "Oh yes, teach me about human courage." Reached out to grab her shoulder. Moved. Her hand shot out and grabbed a plasma torch from the maintenance rack beside her. She swung it in one smooth motion, catching the nearest warrior across his eyes. The alien screamed and staggered back. Didn't stop. She brought her boot down on his knee with all her weight and something cracked. As he fell, she ripped the sidearm from his belt. 3 shots. Stumbled backward, his shoulder exploding in purple blood. Was already moving. She ran low and fast, diving behind a massive industrial machine as the other opened fire. Plasma bolts scorched the air where she had been standing. Metal hissed and melted. But she was gone, disappearing into the maze of equipment that filled the maintenance bay. "Find her," roared, clutching his wounded shoulder. "She's unarmed and alone. Hunt her down." The 5 remaining warriors spread out, their weapons ready. They moved with the confidence of predators who had never faced real prey before. Their thermal vision could see through walls. Their sense of smell could track a target for miles. They were stronger, faster, and better armed than any human. But they had made one critical mistake. They had forgotten to study what humans actually were. pressed herself against a coolant pipe, her breathing controlled and quiet. She could hear them searching, their heavy footsteps making the floor vibrate. They were communicating on their squad channel, coordinating their search pattern. Professional, disciplined. She smiled. Discipline made people predictable. The weapon in her hand had 15 rounds left. Not enough. She needed to be smart. She needed to use everything the Bay offered. Her instructors at the academy had drilled it into her head. When you're change the battlefield. When you're outnumbered, make them come to you. When you're cornered, make them regret finding you. The first warrior came around the corner carefully, his weapon raised. Was already gone, moving through the maintenance tunnels that ran beneath the floor. She had spent 2 years stationed on this ship. She knew every pipe, every junction, every emergency access point. She emerged behind him and fired twice. The shields absorbed the first shot but failed on the second. He dropped hard. The others converged on the position but was already 3 corridors away, using the confusion to reposition. 4 left, plus the wounded ambassador. She killed, one of them snarled into the comm. How did she? Shut up and find her, another interrupted. She's just one human, we are warriors of the Dominion. Found what she was looking for, the main coolant control station. She worked quickly, her fingers flying over the controls. Years of technical training paid off now. She rerouted the pressure, opened the emergency valves, and locked the controls. Then she took a plasma torch and cut halfway through the main coolant line. She moved to the next corridor and waited. 2 came around the corner together, weapons sweeping for targets. Put 3 rounds into the coolant line from 30 meters away. The line exploded. Superheated coolant sprayed across the corridor at 300 degrees. They screamed as their armor burned. They went down thrashing. Fired 2 more shots to be sure, then took their weapons and ammunition. 3 left. What is she doing? One of the warriors whispered into the comm, and for the first time heard fear in his voice. She moved deeper into the bay toward the heavy equipment storage. They were adapting now, moving more carefully. They had stopped treating this like a hunt. Now they knew they were in a fight. Good, scared enemies made mistakes. The next found her in the equipment storage area. He was smart, keeping his distance, using his rifle from cover. Couldn't get a clean shot. They traded fire for almost a minute, neither one able to advance. Then stopped shooting. They waited, his weapon trained on her last position. Seconds passed, nothing moved. He started to advance, his thermal vision scanning for her heat signature. He didn't see the cargo net until it wrapped around him. Had rigged it to the automated loading system, and now she triggered it. The net yanked him off his feet and slammed him against the ceiling. He fired blindly, but his shots went wide. Walked up calmly and shot him through the net 4 times. She wanted to be sure. 2 left plus. She could hear them now talking in low voices. They were regrouping near the entrance, near the ambassador. Smart. They were done playing hunter. Now they were going defensive. Checked her ammunition. 23 rounds. She looked at the maintenance bay around her, at all the equipment and systems she had grown familiar with over the years. A bay designed for repairing ships and maintaining the station. A bay full of tools, power sources, chemicals, and heavy machinery. A bay that was about to become a weapon. She found the station's intercom panel and activated it. Her voice echoed through the entire maintenance bay. Ambassador, you said you studied humans. You studied our biology, our anatomy. You learned that we're weak and fragile and slow. She paused. But you never studied our history, did you? Silence from the... You never learned what we did to every predator on our planet that tried to hunt us. We killed them. The ones we didn't kill, we put in cages. The ones we didn't cage, we bred and trained until they loved us more than they loved themselves. We took wolves and made them into dogs. We took the deadliest animals on our world and turned them into pets. She moved while she talked, setting up her next trap. You think being cornered makes me helpless. You think I'm prey. His voice went cold. Let me teach you what prey animals do when they evolve intelligence. They stop being prey. She cut the calm. They would be angry now. Angry meant sloppy. She had 2 warriors and 1 ambassador left to kill, and she had just given them a choice: come after her or wait for her to come to them. Either way, they were already dead. They just didn't know it yet. Settled into position behind a support beam, her weapon ready. She had been trained for this. Every human soldier was trained for this. Survival, evasion, resistance, escape. And if escape wasn't possible, then you made the enemy pay for every second. The thought they had cornered a human commander. They thought they had the advantage. They were about to learn their mistake. The 2 remaining warriors moved through the maintenance bay with their weapons raised, checking every corner. They had abandoned their confident hunt. Now they moved like soldiers who knew death was waiting somewhere in the shadows. She's just one human, the larger warrior whispered to his companion. We are 2. We have better weapons, better armor, better everything. Then why are we the ones who are afraid? The other one replied. They didn't see in the ventilation shaft above them. She had climbed up using the maintenance ladder, moving silently through the ductwork. She watched them through the grating, counting their steps, timing their movement. She had used her last 3 rounds to rig a trap. The plasma canister she'd found in storage was now sitting on a magnetic clamp, positioned perfectly. One shot would puncture it. The resulting explosion would be enough. Aimed carefully, she had one chance. Her finger tightened on the trigger. The shot rang out. The canister exploded in a ball of superheated plasma. Both were caught in the blast. Their shields failed instantly. Their armor melted. They didn't even have time to scream. Dropped from the vent and landed hard, her ankle twisting. She ignored the pain and moved toward their bodies. More weapons, more ammunition. She took everything she could carry. Now it was just her and the ambassador. She shouted, "It's over, just you and me now." She heard movement from the entrance area. The ambassador was still alive, still dangerous despite his wound. He had taken cover behind the blast doors, using them as a shield. Couldn't get a clean angle on him without exposing herself to his fire. Stalemate for now. "You fight well, Commander," called out. "Better than we expected, but you cannot win. More of my warriors are coming. The fleet will send reinforcements. You are alone." Laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. "You still don't get it. You really didn't study us at all." "I know enough. You are one human against an empire." "No," said. She was moving again, circling through the machinery, getting into position for what she was planning next. "I'm one human who now has a score to settle, and that's the difference between your species and mine, Ambassador. When you lose warriors, you count the cost and move on. When humans lose people, we remember, we adapt, we learn, and we come back." She reached the main power junction and started working on the controls. This was going to be close. "My fleet will destroy your reinforcements," said. "Even if you survive today, you lose." "Maybe, but you won't be alive to see it." Finished her work and stepped back. "Here's another lesson about humans, Ambassador. We don't just fight to win. We fight so the next human doesn't have to face the same enemy alone." She triggered the power surge. Every light in the maintenance bay exploded. Sparks rained from the ceiling. The blast doors, powered by the station's main grid, began to unlock. Emergency systems screamed. The whole bay plunged into darkness except for the emergency lighting. Moved by memory, running through the darkness toward where she knew the ambassador was. She heard him curse in his own language, heard him trying to work the blast door controls. But she had fried the main systems. Those doors weren't opening again without a full reset. She came around the corner and saw him there, illuminated by the red emergency lights. He was massive, wounded but still dangerous. His weapon was raised and tracking toward her. They fired at the same time. Felt the plasma bolt burn past her head, close enough to singe her hair. Her shot took the ambassador in the leg. He stumbled but didn't fall. He was incredibly tough, she had to give him that. She fired again, his shoulder, again, his chest. Dropped to one knee. His weapon fell from his claws, purple blood pooled around him. Walked forward slowly, her gun trained on his head. She was breathing hard, bleeding from half a dozen wounds she hadn't noticed until now. Her ankle throbbed. Her ears rang from the gunfire. But she was alive. "You were right about one thing," she said quietly. "Humans are fragile, we break easily. We're slow and weak compared to most species in this galaxy." She stopped in front of him. "But we're also the species that looked at every disadvantage and turned it into an advantage. We couldn't run fast, so we learned to run far. We couldn't fight with claws, so we invented weapons. We couldn't survive alone, so we learned to work together better than any other species in the known universe." Looked up at her, his eyes dimming. You are just one, Commander. Today, yes, but tomorrow, every human who hears about this will know what you did. They'll know you killed my people. They'll know you thought we were weak." His voice was hard. "And they'll make sure every in this galaxy learns the same lesson you're learning right now." "What lesson?" "Lean down close. Never corner a human commander. Never assume we'll surrender. And never, ever underestimate what we'll do to make sure our people are protected." She straightened up. "You came here thinking you could take this station. Instead, you gave us a story, a warning to send to the rest of your empire." The ambassador's eyes closed. Kept her weapon trained on him for another 30 seconds, making sure he was really down. Then she limped to the communications panel and started broadcasting on all frequencies. "This is Commander Sarah of Station. The diplomatic party has been neutralized. Ambassador attempted to take the station by force and is now in custody. Any ships that approach this station will be considered hostile. Reinforcements are requested immediately." She slid down against the wall, suddenly exhausted. Her hands were shaking. Now that the adrenaline was fatting, the pain was hitting her hard. She was pretty sure she had a concussion. Definitely some broken ribs. Her ankle might be fractured. But she was alive, and they had learned their lesson. The intercom crackled. "Commander, this is Lieutenant Park from the Defense Center. We're reading multiple casualties in the industrial sector. Are you secure?" "Secure enough, Lieutenant. How's the fleet looking?" "Still sitting out there, ma'am. They haven't moved. Actually, they're backing off. We're getting a transmission from their flagship. They want to talk." Smiled grimly. "I bet they do. Tell them I'll consider negotiations once our reinforcements arrive. And Lieutenant, lock down all access to this sector. I have a prisoner who needs to survive long enough to deliver a message to his people." "Understood, ma'am. Medical teams are on their way to you now." Closed her eyes and let herself breathe. She had done it. 7 warriors and an ambassador, and she had survived. Not because she was stronger or faster or better armed, but because she was human, and humans had spent millions of years learning how to survive against impossible odds. The medical team found her 20 minutes later, sitting in a pool of blood, her weapon still in her hand. She was barely conscious but still alert enough to confirm the area was secure before she let them take her gun. As they loaded her onto a stretcher, one of the medics looked around at the carnage. 7 dead, scorch marks, melted metal, a maintenance bay that looked like a war zone. "Commander," the medic whispered, "what happened here?" Managed a weak smile. "They cornered me, big mistake." 3 days later, woke up in the medical bay. Her head felt like it had been used as a drum and every part of her body hurt. But she was alive, and according to the monitors beeping beside her bed, she was going to stay that way. Captain, the station commander, was sitting beside her bed when she opened her eyes. "Welcome back, Commander," he said. "You gave us quite a scare." "The station's voice was rough. Secure the fleet completely. They're calling for a ceasefire." Tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Gently pushed her back down. "Easy. You've got 3 broken ribs, a fractured ankle, a concussion, and more bruises than the doctors could count. You're not going anywhere for at least a week. In custody, he's going to survive, though he'll never walk properly again. We've been getting calls from the high command. They want him back. Smiled. I told them we'd think about it. Closed her eyes. The others, my security detail. Smile faded. We gave them full military honors. Their families have been, I'm sorry, Sarah, they were good people. Yes, they were. Was quiet for a moment. Has the story gotten out? Oh yes. It's spreading through human space like wildfire. The commander who took down 7 warriors alone. The stations are calling you a hero. I'm not a hero, I just survived. That's what makes it a great story. Pulled out a data pad. But that's not why I'm here. We've been getting intelligence reports about the Empire. After what happened here, they're reconsidering their expansion plans into human territory. Opened her eyes, reconsidering. Sent a message to his war council before the medical team stabilized him. We intercepted it. Handed her the data pad. You should read it. Took the pad and scrolled through the translated text. It was a military assessment report, written in the dry, clinical language of someone who had just had every assumption shattered. Subject: reassessment of human combat capabilities. Previous intelligence was incomplete. Humans do not rely on physical strength. They rely on adaptability, creativity, and a psychology that treats disadvantage as a challenge rather than a limitation. Commander operated alone for 3 hours against superior forces. She transformed a maintenance bay into a tactical environment that negated all our advantages. She used equipment as weapons. She used the environment itself as a weapon. Most importantly, she never stopped thinking. The surrendered because we were stronger. The surrendered because we were more numerous. The surrendered because they calculated the cost and found it too high. Humans will not surrender. They will adapt. They will learn. They will turn every loss into a lesson and every lesson into a weapon. Recommendation: avoid direct military conflict with humanity. Update all tactical databases. Classification for humans: apex predator, psychological warfare specialization. Do not corner. Do not underestimate. Do not engage unless prepared for total war. Commander was one human, alone and wounded. She killed 6 warriors and would have killed me if not for the arrival of the medical team. If one human can do this, what can 1,000 do? What can 1,000,000 do? We have made contact with a species that weaponizes everything, including their own weaknesses. Recommend immediate ceasefire and diplomatic resolution. Finished reading and looked up at. He thinks I was going to kill him. Weren't you? Was quiet for a moment. No, I needed him alive to deliver exactly this message. She handed back the data pad. Fear is a weapon too, Captain. Sometimes the best way to win a war is to make sure the other side decides not to fight at all. Stared at her. You planned this, the whole thing. No, I couldn't have planned for them ambushing me, but once they did, once they cornered me and killed my people. His voice went cold. Yes, I made a decision. If I was going to die there, I was going to make sure my death counted for something. And if I was going to live, I was going to make sure the thought twice before attacking another human station. Jesus, Sarah. They studied our biology and called us weak. They should have studied our history. We've been fighting wars since before we left Earth. We've had 10,000 years to optimize violence. Closed her eyes again. I just gave them a demonstration of what that means. A nurse came in to check vitals, stood to leave but paused at the door. For what it's worth, Command is pleased. They're talking about promoting you, possibly putting you in charge of frontier defense. I just want to heal and get back to work, sir. Take your time, you've earned it, smiled. Besides, half the fleet wants to buy you a drink when you're cleared. You might want to pace yourself. After he left, lay in the quiet of the medical bay, staring at the ceiling. She thought about her security detail, good people who had died because of a trap. She thought about the warriors she had killed, soldiers following orders from their leaders. She thought about and his message to his war council. A young ensign came in to deliver some paperwork. She couldn't have been more than 22, fresh from the academy. She approached his bed nervously. "Commander, I'm sorry to disturb you, but I was wondering. The report said you were cornered, that they trapped you with no backup and no weapons. Weren't you scared?" Looked at the young woman for a long moment. She thought about lying, about being brave and stoic. But that wasn't fair to the next generation of soldiers who would face their own impossible situations. "Terrified," she said honestly. "I thought I was going to die." "But you won anyway." "I survived. There's a difference." Shifted in her bed, trying to find a position that didn't hurt. "Fear isn't the enemy, Ensign. Fear is just information. It tells you the situation is dangerous. What you do with that information, that's what matters." "What did you do with it?" Smiled. It was a tired smile, but genuine. "I used it. The thought being cornered made me helpless. They thought fear would make me surrender. They forgot that scared humans don't give up. We get creative. We use everything we have. And we make sure that if someone corners us, they regret it." The ensign nodded slowly. "I'll remember that, ma'am." After she left, finally let herself relax. The pain medication was starting to kick in, making everything feel distant and floaty. She thought about what the ambassador had said about humans being weak and fragile. He was right, in a way. Compared to most species in the galaxy, humans were soft and breakable. But they had forgotten to ask why. They forgot that humans evolved on a planet full of predators, diseases, and natural disasters. They forgot that being fragile meant humans had to get smart fast or die. They forgot that every human carried the legacy of millions of years of survival, of ancestors who faced down predators with nothing but sharpened sticks and refused to quit. You could break a human body easily enough, but breaking a human spirit, that was a different challenge entirely. The intercom chimed. "Commander, this is communications. We're getting requests from media outlets across human space. They want interviews. Everyone wants to know about what happened." Groaned. Of course they did. The story was already spreading. The human commander who turned a trap into a victory. The soldier who proved that cornering a human was the worst tactical decision an enemy could make. Let them tell the story. Let it spread across the galaxy. Let every species that thought about attacking humanity hear about what happened when they cornered Commander. Because the next time someone thought about ambushing a human, they would remember. They would hesitate. They would wonder if it was worth the risk. And that hesitation, that doubt, that fear, that was worth more than any weapon humanity could build. Closed her eyes and let sleep take her. She had earned it. She had survived impossible odds, protected her station, and sent a message that would echo through the galaxy. They had cornered a human commander. They thought they had her trapped. They were right, they did have her cornered. They just forgot what cornered humans were capable of. And now the entire galaxy would learn that lesson, one story at a time, one battle at a time, until every species in the known universe understood the simple truth that they had learned too late. Humans were dangerous precisely because they seemed weak. They were deadly precisely because they could be hurt. They were unstoppable precisely because they could fail. And you never, ever cornered them unless you were prepared for them to show you exactly why their species had survived everything the universe could throw at them. Commander Sarah had given the galaxy a demonstration, a warning wrapped in a story wrapped in a legend. They would not forget, and neither would anyone else.